Welcome back. Of course, looking over the tourism, which is one of the main venues in Egypt as a source of income. And of course, this is because Egypt possesses 1/3 of the world monuments, and because of many reasons, the climate, the location of Egypt, and everything. So the tourism or the sports tourism is one of the booming types of tourism that is a important source of developing this industry in Egypt. And on that particular topic, we're very delighted to be having with us Dr. Yehya Abdul, the tourism counselor. Good morning, Dr. Abdul.
Good morning, Ms. Dina and Monakari.
Same to you, sir. So sports tourism, we're talking about sports tourism. That type of tourism is one of the fastest growing types of or sectors of tourism inside Egypt in the last 10 years. Talk to us about it, and why is sports tourism very important in that domain?
Well, really, we've been fortunate in Egypt because sports tourism is one of the major generators of foreign exchange for any tourist destinations, as well as, it generates great attractions for the destination and travel as well. For example, last week we concluded the Administrative Capital Football Cup, and we remember how the Croatian squad, they visited the Giza Necropolis, and they took, pictures, and they listed this on their site, social media, and they generated, millions of followers worldwide. So it was a great event to promote the administrative capital facilities, infrastructure, and attractions, and to generate promotion and marketing and revenues as well for Egypt as destination.
Right. Talk to us about the different types of sports tourism, because most probably people have stereotyped shapes of sports tourism, while there are many different other types that we can never imagine that are booming in Egypt.
Well, really, when the Olympics started, maybe 100 years ago, there was very limited, number of sports, ready for competitions worldwide every 4 years for the Olympics. But now every year, 1 or 2, 3 more sports are added to the list. So we have greater, volume of competitions, specializations, awards, and citations. In Egypt, the squash nearly, is a monopoly for the Egyptians. Competitions in Australia, Europe and America. Currently, there is a British Classic in London, and most, the winners, inshallah, are going to be male and female from Egypt. So this has become a monopoly. Last week, the African, Olympics were concluded, and Egypt, won hundreds of the gold medals and silver and bronze as well. So our squads, in at least 30 or 40 sports, they are scoring high, and inshallah they will be represented soon in the upcoming Olympics in Paris.
Right. How do you justify that sports tourism is one of the most or the fastest in this particular sector, the tourism sector? Is it because of the momentum? Is it because of the age that we're living in, and this is the developed type of modern tourism that could attract people? Why exactly?
Well, really, it's true what you mentioned now. I remember in 2006, Germany was hosting the World Cup, and on that year they attracted 3 million visitors who came to watch the games, as well as they generated $5 billion. Shortly, both Saudi Arabia and Morocco, they will be hosting World Cups within 6 or 8 years, and that will generate at least from $16 to $17 billion within 4 or 6 weeks, where the World Cup is functioning. So sports has become a great attraction and a generator of foreign exchange for any tourist destination, and that's why world capitals and countries, they are competing to win the World Cups, the Olympics, the squash, the tennis, the track and field. Last week we concluded the Paralympic lift weighting in Sharm el-Sheikh, it was a successful one. So Egypt now is currently being a hub for world, like sports. We have the regatta in Luxor, annual one in January, and we have the tennis, we have the squash, we have the world teams coming to practice. And remember our, like national teams, they were performing and having games, like in United Arab Emirates, in Saudi. So this is a great promotion for Egyptian tourism and sports as well.
Right. So how does sports tourism benefit the sector of tourism in a way? Because we all know that the local economy of any country get affected so much by tourism, especially for countries like Egypt, countries like Italy, countries like Iraq. I mean, countries with legacies and cultural backgrounds and history and all that. So how exactly the sports tourism could benefit the local economy in any country?
Well, actually, it does because, like some countries which don't have like major, like tourist or cultural heritage attractions. For example, you remember 2 years ago, Qatar was hosting the World Cup, and that was a great boost, like for infrastructure, for development and attraction, and it created momentum for, like that developing country. So really, this is one of the attractions sports can create and promote and sustain, like any destinations. And imagine Egypt with its culture, heritage, and archaeological background, and most beaches, and history and attractions. So plus, like when we add, like international sports competition, contests held in major, like destinations on the Red Sea and Mediterranean, and in the Nile and Upper Egypt as well. So that boosts tourism and creates momentum and creates most, like attractions and visitors for the world tourist sites that we have in Egypt.
Right. Tell us more about the famous sites where the activities of sports tourism are held in Egypt.
Well, of course, Cairo holds the lion's share because of the infrastructure facilities and superstructures, the stadiums in Cairo, the sporting club we have, the major ones, and then the administrative capital now, like it has a very prestigious stadium that was admired by the international teams coming to compete for the first time. So this is a great boost for Egyptian tourism, for culture, and for sports as well. Alexandria has recognized, like stadiums since like Greco-Roman times, and currently we have great stadiums. And most, governorates in Egypt, they have their own facilities. So that's why, and we have Olympic, like villages, like there's one in training in Ma'ari, and there's going to be another Olympic village as well in the administrative capital. And with the development of the resorts and Ras Al Hikma Alamein, we are creating more demand and more tourist facilities for aquatics, plus, like the classic ones, the tennis, the squash, track and fields, and aviation as well, like things associated with it. So there's a great potential for Egypt in the upcoming years, inshallah.
Well, right. Recently, the Croatian soccer team visited the iconic Great Pyramid, and where they have toured around the place, and they received a comprehensive briefing over the historic significance and how the Egyptian workers built it, and how important are visits like that for sports tournaments or sports teams, or I mean to link authenticity and ancient tournaments and ancient relics with the sports activities to create that bond.
That was really a great, advantage and attraction for Egyptian tourism, antiquities, and sports as well. Because the Croatian team is one of the leading teams worldwide, and it has a great star, like Luka Modric. And it's the first time that I see a football team, is going and practicing, like in the, and having the Giza pyramids in the background. So this picture really was, transmitted worldwide. and they talk about, like the fascination with the Egyptian civilization and with the Egyptian football players, and they mentioned Muhammad Salah as well. So really that was a great promotion from the side, and that was, transmitted by social media, and there have been millions of followers worldwide who admired and liked that, and it was really a successful event held at the administrative capital. And we look forward that we have a calendar for events, apart from, like football. There are other sports that could be like gymnastics that could be held over there, because we need to create more demand for our tourist and sports side.
Right. How important is it to organize international and regional sports tournaments in Egypt? And in that sense, we could promote the sports tourism. I mean, we could organize those international regional sports tournaments and try to form a tournament that is linked with the cultural background, the important monuments that are located in Cairo and in Upper Egypt and everything. We can organize sports tournaments that are located inside the historical places and not in a way that would not harm the relics and the monuments.
Yeah, really, this is quite, you give me like a really a brilliant idea now, because some of the major sports that we practice nowadays, they were initiated and developed in Egypt. For example, like wrestling, as we go to Bani Hassan, like catacombs in Armenia, we'll see how they were showing, like wrestling like 3,000 years ago. When I went to America, I went to a bowling alley, and they were showing, like they said that, we were painting that, like bowling, like initially started like in ancient Egypt. So we have many sports, as you mentioned, we have fencing. So all these, we have classic sports, like at least 10 of them, that could be practiced, like in Aswan, in Luxor, in Mania, and ancient location where we have tourist sites, like archaeological findings and tombs and temples that, showcase how the Egypt performed these, like sports 3,000 or more in history, and that will be very attractive. And the whole world is recognizing this, because I saw many of these paintings, and demonstrations outside in Egypt. So we can just work on it, and we have a very active Minister of Youth who can work closely with jointly with the sports association, local ones, to promote, like the governorates, the archaeological sites, and create demand and pride and solidarity for the young men and women who will be involved in this sport.
Right. We've also seen football stars like Modric posting the video of the visit, seeing the iconic pyramid. How important are videos like that when it becomes viral over social media, and the fans of this football star would see probably some historical sites in one part of the world? Probably some Europeans haven't heard about it, because some Europeans tend to be far from the history of other countries. Not all of them are culturally acquainted with history.
Well, this is partially true, because we are lucky, because like Croatia is a very favorable country in Europe, and as well, like its people, its culture is very friendly. And Modric is like one of the stars, like in Europe, and leading squads. So this was, and soccer and football really is one of the most popular, like there are billions worldwide who follow it because of its popularity and because of its ancient history as well. And Egyptian culture, like like young men and women in schools in Europe and worldwide, all the way from Japan to the Pacific, they study Egyptian culture and civilization, so they are familiar, but we have to do our homework. And as you mentioned kindly, that we need to develop, like ancient sports that were initiated in Egypt, like swimming, boxing, wrestling, fencing, and hockey is an ancient Egyptian game as well. And fencing, horse racing, all these, like some of the attractions we had in Egypt, and it could be developed in the ancient sites and that will create and develop the governorates, and the local population will benefit from it, as well as the country in whole.
Now we are about to witness Eid al-Fitr, or the Lesser Bayram, that is coming up in a few weeks or a few days. So this is one of the most important festivities that tourists would like to attend if they're coming over to Egypt, especially because of the cuisine, because of the special cookies that Egyptians serve during Lesser Bayram, and because of the significance it holds for the people who spent a whole month of fasting, totally fasting the whole day. I mean, it has a lot of stories, and because it's a preparation to the greater Bayram and Hajj before that, that would follow that after a few months. So talk to us about the festivities of Lesser Bayram or Eid al-Fitr, and how important is it also to be an attraction for tourism?
Well, we are fortunate and lucky because, like Eid al-Fitr is coinciding closely with the Easter celebrations, vacations for Europe, like the Easter. And we remember in this beautiful month, in March, we had the Mother's Day. And then in April, most of Europe, they have like 2 weeks of vacation, and they like to travel to the East because it's a spiritual tour as well, and it's a tourist and leisure one. So we'll be having, great and thousands of visitors will be flying to Egypt on scheduled flights and chartered flights as well, and on cruises to come and spend their Easter holidays, because they have more than 2 weeks to spend. And as I was watching, the Forbes International Magazine, they listed Egypt as one of the top destinations, that need to be visited this year. Not only, like the Forbes, but as well, there is the Telegraph and the CNN Travel. They recommended travelers worldwide to come to Egypt at this time of the year. So we'll be having our, brothers from the Arab world, from the GCC countries, coming to spend their Eid, vacations and leisure times shortly when Ramadan ends, inshallah. And then we have international visitors coming because Easter is associated with Christian feelings and spiritual motives as well. So we're going to have a great season, inshallah.
Right. For almost more than 10 years now, Egypt have created new sources for touristic attractions in Egypt, like the conference tourism, like the cultural tourism, like the types of entertaining tourism. Also, the sports tourism is becoming one of the touristic attractions that was created recently during the past 10 years in Egypt. And we remember so many sports activities, huge sport activities that were held in Egypt and that attracted a lot of tourists and a lot of visitors. Sometimes it targets the Gulf tourism, sometimes it targets the European, you name it. How do you assess that particular idea of upgrading and diversification of the types of tourism and empowering the sports tourism that way?
Well, really, this is a great work and strategy, of the Egyptian administration, reflected by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities and the Ministry of Youth and Ministry of Culture, because all these jointly, promote the sports, promote the destinations, and that, increases and highlights the arrivals of thousands of visitors who like to, and the fans, of the special sports, who like to come and watch, the teams compete. And really around the clock now, we have competitions, one in Sharm el-Sheikh, another one, the administrative capitals, and some in Cairo, Alexandria, and Upper Egypt as well. So really we need to develop and upgrade our calendar of sports events year-round, and make sure that every destination in Egypt is getting its share, because we have lots of attractions. We have adventure tourism, we have sports tourism, we have aquatics, we have diving, we have parasailing, and we have, again, you know, like the another type of flying, you know, like they fly the paragliding like over the Giza necropolis. So really, we are blessed by the type of attractions we have. So we need to develop the calendar and make sure major ministries and associations are working closely to promote it, and that will be a great boost for our economy, development, and foreign exchange as well.
Right. Dr. Yehya Abdul, the Tourism Council, would like to thank you so much talking to The Breakfast Show. You have a good day. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue The Breakfast Show, so stay with us.